We are back today to talk about the 10 hidden financial red flags you see in church finances. Hey, if we haven't gotten to introduce, my name is Sheldon, and I get to be joined today by our senior advisor, senior partner of our financial services division, Janelle Montgomery, CPA. Is it annoying that I put CPA at the end of your name?
Absolutely.
I want everybody to know she's not one of your little friends. You know, I have to let them know real out loud, like she is certified to account for the finances, and
Yes.
you should treat her accordingly. So Janelle, welcome back. So good to have this conversation with you.
So glad to be here.
There are some amazing things we've been working on together, and some exciting things we're rolling out. And our desire as a company to help churches get clear so they can grow faster is expanding by our partnership. And so we've been telling, if people have been following along these conversations, we announced recently that Janelle has joined us at Andrus Advisory as our senior partner, which means she's the boss of our financial services division. Our heart really is not just to help churches grow around their leadership and ministry structure. Of course, those are absolutely crucial. But transparently, that advice does have its limitations because everything we do in our organizations, especially in church, requires money. And so if the money doesn't match the mission, and the mission, as you say, doesn't match the money, it's going to be hard to lead. And so, Janelle, I'm so grateful that you've joined us and you're bringing your thought leadership, your knowledge. I think the beauty of it all, and I'm going to let you get into this, these 10 red flags, the beauty of it all is not only that you're a CPA, but you're also a co-pastor of a local church. So you live in duality. Hey, before we get started into these 10 red flags, real quick, for pastors and leaders who may be listening to our conversation, what is your heart for the financial services that we provide? Tell us about kind of what you want to see, what transformation you want to bring, and how you want to do it.
I love it because the transformation that I want to bring to the ministries, the churches, those that are doing a noble cause and a noble mission is that we want to make sure that the mission aligns with the money.
That's great.
And the money aligns with the mission.
Right.
And so the thing is that if we don't have a structure in place or a set system in place, then the mission can go any place that it wants to without no direction. So I believe that once we put those systems in, then it's going to set a direction for where the resources can go so that it can have the greatest impact.
That's great. You said something in an earlier conversation. You said your goal is to help a church make sure that every dollar has an assignment. I didn't quote you exactly, but it's the idea that we're not only stewarding that. I think we're really as a pastor, as an executive pastor, as leaders, we see the mandate to care for every soul. That's clear. We have no issue understanding that we are called to account for souls and God is holding us account. But I love your heart and your ministry and your advisory is to also give that same level of attention to every dollar.
Exactly.
So that every dollar is on purpose and every dollar is maximizing the call of God on it, right? Because it's stewardship. Ultimately, it's all stewardship. Well, I'm incredibly glad we're doing this. Okay, I know you guys want to hear. What are these 10 red flags, Janelle? You get to talk to pastors all over the country, leaders, not just pastors and leaders. I think those are people who maybe even follow you on social media know, like you are an advisor and a CPA to literally multimillionaires. They call you because you understand the complexity of these, because when you get to that level of wealth, it's not just personal money, it's now a machine, right? And you understand the complexity of that. And I think it's beautiful that you're now doing this specifically with us and for the local church. I think it's absolutely masterful. Okay, so as you start to talk to pastors, you're outside, you're taking their phone calls, they're we like to laugh, they're picking your brain, right?
Right.
What should I do as they're talking about their church's money and stewarding it well, you've identified 10 common red flags, which, by the way, if you listen to this, in the link right now below in the description, you can download this resource that Janelle has written for us. It's called The 10 Hidden Financial Red Flags that she sees in church finances. And we're not gonna have time to unpack all 10 of them, but there's some juicy ones in here and ones I think, would make for some good conversation in this format. So I'd love to hear, maybe let's just dive in. Let's start with number one. Pick one of the top 10.
Oh, one of the things that I see that churches do is that they operate off of the bank balance instead of a budget.
So they just look at the phone and say, okay, we got that much in the account. Let's make some decisions.
Right.
Okay, so what happens when you do that? Because listen, the bank account says I got that much money in it. I'm only spending a couple thousand. What's the problem?
Here's the thing. If there is no difference or distinction between cash flow, reserves, and obligations,
Not all the same thing.
not all the same thing.
Not all the same thing. Hold on real quick, because see, you're smart. You're the smart one in this table. Cash flow, we're defining as...
Oh, just what is going to be our cash inflow and cash outflow.
Right, and that for a lot of churches is their weekly, their weekend, their Sundays,
Yes.
their giving moments. Most churches that are listening to us are ran on tithes and offerings. So those moments, you say, that's cash flow. And cash flow is the in and the out, right? Is how
Exactly.
much you're taking in, how much you're spending out on a weekly basis.
Yeah, because even if you have something taken out the 15th of the month, it can happen in different weeks. It can be at the very end of the week or the beginning of another week. So you have to really be very, pay a lot of attention to detail to when cash flows, inflows, and outflows are going to happen. So that's one.
Second one you listed is, so you said there are three areas
Yep.
of money. There's cash flow.
Yep, and then there's reserves.
Reserves. This is, what do you define reserves for us? A lot of us ain't working with a lot of reserves. So maybe help us understand reserves.
Right, reserves. That's basically the savings.
Okay.
We gotta have an amount in savings, reserves, because just like in the Bible, where Joseph, where he had that dream, where you have to make sure that
away.
when your church is doing well,
Yeah.
you got to be putting money aside.
Right.
And then so that in the lean years,
Yep.
you have some reserves that you can fall back on,
right.
or so that the church doesn't feel it if there is some type of economic downturn. Now, knowing that we are operating from a different system,
Come on,
right? The
preach,
kingdom
preacher. Listen,
exchange.
she's not just a CPA, she is your pastor. You're going to get this word, okay? You're going to get this word.
So that's the thing. Like we operate in a different economy,
great.
but just in case, if it is affected, that the church will not feel it because we have reserves.
So good. Okay, what's the third one?
The third one is going to be obligations.
Okay.
Debt.
Okay, we got debt.
We got debt.
This is great. And
Yeah.
that looks like those are going to, what falls under the debt category?
Those are going to be the things that you have a long-term loan, like you have a holding balance every single month.
Got it.
Not your credit card. We're not talking about revolving. That too, you do have your revolving debt, but then you also have your debt. Like, for instance, it can be a mortgage, it can be something that you finance, such as long-term equipment, an automobile. So those are the things that we're looking at, are those obligations.
So and what you're saying is that bank balance, while it's one big conglomerate number, it's not telling you that level of detail. So what you may what may feel like extra money may actually all be allocated.
All be allocated. And I've
That's
seen
dangerous.
many churches do it. I've seen many churches just say, we had a good offering Sunday, but I'm like, wait a minute, next Sunday, do you realize that the third Sunday of the month isn't as strong as the
great.
first Sunday of the month?
great.
So you have to really make sure and figure out and forecast what your cash flows are going to look like.
It's really, really good. Okay, so they're living in the bank account balance. They're living in the bank account balance, not in the budget. I know there's another episode where we lay out the budgetary idea. But for those of us who are just jumping into this conversation, help us real quick. You laid out masterfully, and by the way, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's live right now on the channel. You give a framework for a budget, a church budget, general buckets to think of as how do we frame a church budget so that we are maximizing and making sure that we're staying within some reasonability as we're planning. Are you able to give us those kind of 5 buckets? I remember them. I was a student. I was taking copious notes because I'm going to use it when I talk to churches. I want to sound like I know a little something about finance, but I don't. I'm going to always say you didn't know. But I say that to say, can you take us through those 5 just for people who may be like, wait, there's a budgeting framework for my church? I didn't know that.
There is a budgeting framework. And the first one, and we're just going to gloss over these
That's
pretty
cool.
quick.
I won't stick on them.
But we have 10% to go to missions.
Got it.
And then we have 35% that needs to go to staff.
Okay.
We have another 35% that needs to go to facilities. And then we have 8% for administration, and then 12% that are for the ministries.
Great. And so as you think about your total expenditure of all of the money you take in for the year, you're saying that those are the healthy benchmarks. Not, and hear me, we both say this all the time. There's different situations for everybody. We're not saying it's an exact, but those are general. When we look at cross churches, we see those common kind of markers or benchmarks for healthy church budgets to know that we're accomplishing the mission, we're taking care of our facilities and our staff, and we're also being focused on ministry, mission, and keeping our administrative costs in check.
Yes, exactly.
Great. It's really, really good. Okay. Second red flag. We should have got some actual red flags. This would be great. Second red flag that you see as you navigate the church space with leaders, pastors, financial leaders. What comes to mind?
Ooh, I think another red flag that I would say is that there are no clear cash reserves policy.
Okay, so here we go. They don't like to save the money. Okay, but you added a new word to this conversation, and that is policy. So talk to us about this idea of how much savings is enough, like even in our personal account, even in our personal life. Like, my wife and I, we did the Dave Ramsey model. We know we have an emergency fund, and we also now have, retirement accounts, and we are invested. But my question is, what does that look like in a church? How much savings is enough? And then what policy would you recommend at baseline, just to get started, to say, hey, you need to buy this, it's like Dave Ramsey, it's called the first $1,000 for your emergency fund. What's the church version of an emergency fund?
Oh, I love that. The church version of the emergency fund is going to be 3 to 6 months worth of expenses.
Worth of your expenses. Got it. So you take all of your expenses for the month, multiply that times 3. You want to keep that sitting aside. 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. That's at the
bare
bare minimum. Start with 1. Yeah, I know. People are like, okay,
we got to do some work.
Let me go ahead and move this money over. I know. Listen,
I
understand if your church is not there yet, but start with something.
That's so great.
What I tell people who are wanting to build wealth or build some type of savings, start with an amount, right? Start with any amount.
Yeah.
Like, automate it. Make sure that you have it automatically transferred. Like, treat it as a bill. Because
the savings part. Like, automatic. The savings part, month, every week we pull this amount out of and we save it.
And this is something the church should, pay itself as far as savings. It sounds weird, but in order to make sure that we have wealth set aside on a personal level, we have to pay ourselves. And so as far as the church, start with an amount, right? Sometimes it's not the amount, it's the principle that we're putting in place. So you want to make sure to put the principle in place. So whatever that amount is, if you can do $100 a week, or if you can start off with $100 a month, something is better than nothing, because guess what? Everybody else is coming for your money. The debts, the expenses, the subscriptions, the everything, the staff, they will be coming after your money. So you might as well put it in the budget to where you have it to where money is being automatically put aside to savings.
That's great.
If you're starting from zero.
How do you help pastors create framework for how to access that savings? So again, personal finance, we know that this is an emergency fund. These are expenses that arise outside of our normal budgeting framework, right, that we couldn't have planned for. And Dave says, I love it, those of you who've done financial piece, he says most family emergencies are under $2,000, under $1,000. And so if you keep this little amount of money set by, you'll weather most of life's urgent storms. What's that version for church though? How do you set hey, that's for savings? Because a building project down payment looks like a really good reason to get in the savings account, or hey, I really need that new staff person, and how do you create? What do you call that money? What rules, or you use the word policy? What policy do you put on that money specifically so that it stays in a rainy day fund, and ensuring that it rains in order to access it?
Well, I would say this is that actually just putting that policy into place and showing, and I feel like this, that the church should be a great example for the people. So if we set aside money for a rainy day, anytime where there's a hiccup or a summer slump or anything like that, that we can actually have something to fall back on, right? So to have that policy in place and to show people, hey, listen, here's the thing. What we want to do is, if we can, challenge the people to raise their faith.
So good.
And so the thing is that, so what we want to do is we want to challenge the people to raise their faith. Give them a chance to raise their faith. And so what's important is that with the cash reserves policy, that we just solely just keep that for the reserves, for only for the emergencies. And so when new projects come up, let the people know what new projects we're doing so that they have an opportunity to fund that.
It's awesome. Really, really putting a wall between the operating account and the savings account. Which, by the way, and you advised this in the previous conversation, that's good personal finance, right? It's, babe, it was on sale, so I used the savings account in order to get it. It's like, that's not the point of the savings account, honey. My wife's watching this right now. She goes, that's what you think sometimes, so I apologize. Let me not, lest I be considered calling the pot calling the kettle black here. This is crazy. Okay, red flag number 3. Red flag number 3.
Ooh, red flag number 3. Here's another one. Financial decisions are made on faith alone without data.
Okay, now you know I love data. That's like my key word. Okay, so financial decisions are being made on faith alone. Tell us what that looks like. When you see that, what's the anecdotal system, or what's the anecdote that you've seen where that's happened?
Oh yeah, we're gonna hire this person, and we're just gonna believe by faith that it's gonna work.
We're gonna be able to pay them.
We're gonna be
not just their salary, but their benefits, insurance, taxes,
all of that. Yep.
Which we often forget that is a part of a person's compensation. So it's not just that big number. Okay, so what data is important? As a pastor, I'm listening to this conversation. Janelle, Sheldon, y'all are intriguing me. I like these red flags, and I don't have all these red flags, but I can see it. How do I ensure, what data points do I need to know? Because here's the deal, you know as well as I know, most pastors don't want to look at balance sheets. They're not excited about the P&Ls. They don't want to look at the chart of accounts and see what. No, they're just like, hey, tell me if I can spend it. Can I spend it? Is it in the bank? Let's do it. So what numbers do they need to look at?
The numbers that they need to look at is the budget. I have to always go back to the plan. And if you don't like the word budget, you can use the spending plan, right? Yeah. So it's almost like budget. You equate it to diet, right? Oh, like, I'm on a diet. No, what is your eating plan, right? Lifestyle enhancement. I love that.
This is just a diet. Everyone relax.
Right. And so that's the same way that we can look at the budget. Is there a budget for this new person? And if so, how are we going to get our return on investment? Right.
Now that's a CFO level advisor, because a lot of pastors, I think, see people as, hey, they're going to help me, bring on staff, they're going to help me fulfill the mission.
Right.
But there is a financial implication. You called it, I forget the word you used. It was really good. It's like burden cost or burden, or this idea of like,
the
hey,
burden,
if you're going to add this burden to the budget, not that the person's a burden, the cost of them is.
The cost, yes.
How do you... So let's just talk about that for a second.
Okay.
What number, at what are the levers, like specifically around staffing? Do I need to have a certain amount saved to hire a new staff person? Like, I do think to a lot of pastors who you and I get to meet, there's a lot of faith. And that faith is not wrong. We're not going to tell them don't walk by faith. There is moments, I think, in every pastor's journey where they got to do a little faith walk. The money don't make sense, the bank account don't make, and I think that's... what I tell pastors all the time is that should be your one special one. It shouldn't be all of your decision making, right? They're all by faith. Light bills by faith, the mortgages by faith. No. It's a growth. I say that to say, when you think about staffing specifically, because it is typically, there's more than just a bill. It's now a personality. You're taking care of someone's home, their finances, their family, by paying them this money. What's a good rule of thumb budgetarily? Like, how much more money do I have to have all of their salary coming in the day I hired them? Is there a world where you would say, when you were advised, like, hey, you can hire them before? Like, what's the cutoff? What's the shape of that conversation?
I like it. So the shape of that conversation is basically we have to make sure that the funds are, first of all, not restricted, which is part of another red flag. But we want to make sure that there are operating funds, meaning that they're not tied up in reserves, they're not tied up in some type of restricted project, but they are cash or excess funds that we can access in order to write them in the budget, right? We want to make sure that we have at least, I would say at least 3 to 6 months of their salary already saved up. So if we're really operating by faith, let's go ahead and exercise that faith before we bring the person on.
That's right.
So whoever fills that position, whether if it's the position we're looking to fill or hire, we know that we're already exercising by faith, and that's something that we can actually do in reality.
That's right.
Now, I will say this, that if a pastor wants to decide, i.e. my husband, if he...
She's a co-pastor, I just want you to know. She's not talking from a theoretical, she's in the practical, ladies and gentlemen. This
right,
is good.
we are in the practical.
This is
So
really good.
when my husband says, this is what we want to do, I have to give it to him straight. I'll say, okay, this is what the finances are going to look like, and this is where we're at. Okay, well, we're going to trust God by faith. And I will say, well, I'm just telling you what the numbers are going to look like. And then also following up as well, too. So we have to inspect what we expect, right?
So good. We have to inspect
Yep.
what we expect. It's so good. It's a powerful statement.
So we got to do that. So what does that mean? That means that, a month later, hey, how are we tracking? If we're believing God for the finances to fund or support this type of project, mission, staff, salary, where are we at? Like, how far away from the goal are we from? Like, how far away are we?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then, so you said one of the things about this third red flag is the data, is the numbers. And you and I were talking offline before we started talking. I think 90% of churches that are growing, they're not, one of the main commonalities I see about them is they all have a healthy appreciation of tracking data.
Yes.
Right? Attendance, salvations, conversions, baptisms, participation in small groups, but absolutely income, reserves, spending. Like it is, I think there's a beauty, and even in the scripture we hear this of like God being obsessive about the number of things.
Yes.
And then holding us to account for how we deal with the number of gifts or talents He gives us. But the famous, the story in the Bible, God leaves the 99 for the one. Well, how did He know there was 100? Because He's obsessively counting all of them, right?
Exactly.
I heard we had somebody in one of our Sunday collectives, of which you've been a part of,
Yes.
talk about the fact that we count people because people count, and so I do think the data growth goes through the discipline of building out data sets, right? It is, you don't know it's growing because data is the scaffolding in which growth adds to. And so without it, it's almost impossible. So I love that. I love these 3 red flags. I think of the 3 of them, which one of them, of the 10 of them, because there's 10, by the way, if you're just tuning in and you jumped in the middle of this conversation, Janelle's created a phenomenal resource for pastors, ministry leaders, called 10 most common red flags she finds in church finances. And you've got to get it. It's for free right now. It's absolutely free. You can download it. It's in the link below in the description. But Janelle, and all 10 of them, we don't want to beat up pastors. We don't want to beat up the church. You and I both believe that the church is the hope of the world, and it's absolutely beautiful when it's stewarded and led well. What's the easiest green flag? What's the easiest green flag a church can have in this season of finance? Right? It's like, hey, you're not doing everything perfect, but here's an easy win that you can make with your money without a heavy lift. And it could be any of these. It could be the opposite of any of these 10. But I'm just curious to know, where's an easy place you think leaders can have some winning in their finances?
I think having someone on their team, really. I mean, really to help them look at this information. Sure. Because again, I do want to express that we're not looking for pastors to become CFOs. I do not want my husband to become a CFO because that's not where it's not his gift, right? I want him to continue being the visionary, and I want him to continue to move the vision forward. So the thing is that one of the things that's going to be an easy green flag is having someone on the team, someone else on the team besides the pastor, like being the end all be all for all the finances. Really, I would say that that's a green light. Also, what else is a green light is even if you don't have necessarily a budget per se, but if you have, all the expenses written down on the date that they're coming out, right? That's somewhere where we can actually look and track, right? So those are some of the green flags that I would say.
I love your green flags, and it's a great segue to how we wrap up this conversation. If you are listening to this and you are serious about experiencing the next level of growth for you and your organization, and you know that the finances or the stewardship of your church's finances could absolutely use some strategic oversight, some strategic advice, some shaping, some frameworks, I would love for you to click the link below to set up a discovery call. You'll meet with Janelle and our finance team. They'll learn your story. They'll hear more about your heart and about your mission, and really show you a way that we at Andrus Advisory can come alongside you, partner with you to help you get clear so you can grow faster. Janelle, I always like talking to you. I'm not lying, I'm gonna say this in every episode, you make me smarter. You make me smarter every time, and I'm so happy to be building the kingdom alongside you. Thank you. Thank you, friend.
Wow, thank you.